What's up, guys? Welcome back to the campsite. Today we are talking about fire, specifically what to carry with you to set up your fire, to light your fire, and to make sure you have success every time you go to build that fire. Stay tuned. All right, guys, before I get started in us going through the different gear that I have that I like carrying to make a fire and talking about stuff that you should carry with you to make fire making easier, I want to talk about the 5 different ways to make fire. Now, in that is subcategories of the tools that we'll use, and I'll talk a little bit more after I tell you the categories. I got this idea from Dave Canterbury whenever he explained it on a TV show that he was on about these are the ways to make fire. So you have electrical, you have chemical, you have solar, you have friction, and you have percussion. Now, percussion is going to be like your fire piston. You know what I'm talking about, where you hit the end of it, pull it out, and there's an ember. Your friction fire is going to be your bow drill fire, or using a ferro rod when you're raking down to get the sparks. Again, your electrical could be a battery with some steel wool. So all of those will make fire, just some are easier than others. Now, before I go into the woods, or before I tell people they should go into the woods or camping or anything, I tell them they should know 5 ways to make fire. Not all of those categories, but in those categories, you need to know 5 different ways. So what I tell people is you need to know 2 primitive ways, like bow drill fire or fire plow, something along those lines. Even flint and steel I'll consider primitive. To also having at least three modern ways, like a lighter, a ferro rod, matches, something like that, to make fire that you carry with you. Knowledge is also a tool. So we're gonna get in. I'm gonna show you the gear that I have that I like using to make fire. Now, one of these things is strictly fun, it just looks cool, but my serious things that I like to carry with me to make fire, and I'm gonna show you one tool that we sell in the shop that is kind of a one-stop shop for just about everything you need to do in a survival situation to make a fire, that we'll be using in the next video to build our campfire. So let's check this out, guys. I'm gonna pull the camera in close. All right, guys, so these are some of my modern ignition source tools that I use to make fire. One of the other things that I carry with me is a very small parabolic lens, which is basically like a really good magnifying glass that I use to play around to make fire. But I always bring these tools with me to make sure that I can have guaranteed fire. Now, the number one thing I tell people is carry a lighter of some sort. Now, there are ups and downs to every one of these tools, but a lighter, you have guaranteed fire, and it's windy today, all the time. But if it gets too cold, or if it gets wet, you have issues, or if you puncture it in some way, it's not gonna work. Now, if you wanna see a video on how to make a fire with an empty lighter, let me know. I picked up that skill a few years ago, and it's been a lot of fun playing around with. Another style lighter is your flip style lighters. And a lot of times these will have be wind resistant and won't blow out as easy as your Bic or your Bic style lighters. Now, ferro rods are reliable, they work when they're wet, and you have a guaranteed spark the majority of the time. Now, there is a trick to doing these right, and a lot of times the little scrapers are not always the best, so sometimes you have to clean them up. Now, something that I really like is waterproof matches, but they have their own downside also. And especially, I like these containers. I'll show you before I open it. A lot of them have a ferro rod on the bottom right there. But waterproof matches work great. But if you don't have the striking pad, or if the striking pad gets wet or lost, you can't strike them. So then now you just have a bunch of little sticks. So everything has its ups and downs. Now, a couple unconventional things which are kind of fun. The endless match, I think is what they call this, or the forever match. Let me get it unscrewed. These work really well. And you fill them full of just regular fuel, and then that's similar to the flip top style lighter. Sorry, my O-ring got pushed down. There we go. But these work really good and they're reliable. It's sealed up, but again, reliable. It's sealed up, but if you run out of fuel, it's not gonna work. Now, the solar lenses like these or the parabolic lenses are really good, but if it's a cloudy day like it is today, it's not gonna work. But these work really good. You just focus, you put your tender in the top and you focus a beam of the sunlight onto it and it'll ignite. It's really fun. It's a lot of fun with the kids. They think it's like a magic trick happening. Now, this product that we carry, I think is really cool. It comes with fat wood, and I'm gonna talk more about fat wood in a second, and you have your ferro rod. So you have everything right here to start a fire in a survival situation if you need it, or if it's wet or something like that and you're out camping and you're trying to get a fire going. Fat wood will burn even if it's wet, and a ferro rod, these throw sparks really well so you can get everything started. And again, fat wood will burn even if it's wet. It burns like gasoline. Okay guys, so in my handy dandy little controller tin, and I carry a metal tin so I can make char cloth if I need to, I have various items. Now these two items are not in the tin, they're too big. They stay in my pack, but I have everything in this one little tin that I can use to start a fire very fast. So, first thing that I have is some char cloth, and I have some fire plugs. Char cloth, if it gets wet, will not do anything, but it catches a spark really well, especially if you're having to do flint and steel. So you can catch it, it'll smolder, and you can get everything ready to blow it into a flame. The fire plugs will light wet, and they also work really well with the ferro rod if you fluff them up. I also have a ferro rod in here, and with that ferro rod I also have some survival cordage. If you see the little red piece right there, that is waxed tinder. Another thing that I carry is jute twine. Now, if it gets wet, it does not work well, but it does catch a flame really well and makes a really nice tinder bundle that I could put the char cloth in, or I could hit with a ferro rod wrapped around and inside my bird's nest that's wrapped around it, and it will catch really well. Now, a couple other things that you can have is some cotton balls with Vaseline. Chapstick burns really well if you need an extender, and also hand sanitizer will burn also. Some things are a little bit harder to light. Now, the two fuel tabs that I have here, one will light really easy with a ferro rod, the other one not so much. Now, this one is more of a gel style fuel tab. When you light it, it will start to melt, which is fine if you have something to hold it in or to keep it on so it'll continue to burn. These light really easy, but their life expectancy, words are hard, sorry. Life expectancy is not that great. The solid ones burn longer, but they are a little bit harder to light with a ferro rod. What I recommend is crushing just a tiny bit off the side and have a little bit of a powder there. Now, and so you can hit this with a ferro rod and then it'll catch up easier. The other thing I want to talk about is fat wood. Now, fat wood is a phenomenal fire starter, and I'm going to show you how each one of these work here in just a second. But fat wood comes from the heart of a pine or an evergreen tree, and they also call it pitchwood, they call it heart pine, a ton of different names. This will burn like gasoline. Scrape it off, put some little curls down, and this thing catches up really well. This particular setup was designed by a guy who his canoe tipped over and he was in a survival situation and he didn't have stuff there to build a fire properly, and he almost froze. So he'd come up with this idea, and I love this idea. We have it in the shop. This design is very handy, especially if you're a backpacker and you don't want to carry a lot of gear with you, but you still want to have a good way to be able to make a primitive fire. This is a great setup. But the first thing I can tell you with every one of these tools, guys, is practice, practice, practice. If you don't get out there and use it, you're not going to know how to survive with it. We're focusing now on all of our videos, since I'm sitting here talking about it, on gear, on knowledge and on skill. If you have the gear, but you don't have the knowledge and the skill, you're not gonna be able to do it. So get out there, practice, practice, practice. So I'm gonna get each one of these things set up individually, and I'm gonna show you how each one of them works. The char cloth, I'm just gonna strike it. I'm not gonna blow it into flame. I'm just gonna show you how it works. And then we'll get everything set up and we will test each one so you can see which one will work best for you. Okay guys, fire plug is gonna be the first one. I'm gonna fluff it up. So you want as much surface area as you can get. I'm gonna grab this ferro rod right here. Now see it burning right there? Gets caught up really fast. Now it is damp and cold out here today, guys. So some of these are gonna be a little bit harder to get going with the ferro rod, especially with the dampness in the air. So just giving you a heads up on it. Whenever you go to use some things, sometimes you might have to work at it just a little bit. Okay guys, here's our char cloth. And you can see right there, char cloth catches up really good. Another thing that you can also use, guys, and a lot of people discredit it, but as long as you keep it dry, it works well, keep it in a baggie, is dryer lint. It lights very well, but again, you have to keep it dry. So char cloth right there. You can see it smolders. Put that in your tinder bundle, or your bird's nest in your tinder bundle, blow it into a flame. Very simple. All right guys, so your jute twine, again, would work really well with your char cloth, but make sure you get it very fluffy. You need as much surface area as you can. Now, while I'm doing this and talking and getting this fluffed up, some good natural material that you can use to build a fire. Well, fat wood's natural. You just kind of have to work at it. Cedar bark catches really well. Birch bark catches really well. Any kind of bark that you can fluff up really good. Also, if you have like your grass that's very dry and tall, almost like hay, that catches well. But be careful if it's damp. Now, if you have a lighter and you're doing this, pine needles work well, but you need to have a lighter. They don't catch a spark well. And again, guys, fluff this up, but if it gets damp, it is not gonna catch well. So if you find something like rope like this, the hemp rope, anything like that, that's natural, and it is damp, put it in your pocket, put it somewhere as close to where, put it somewhere where you can get it good and dry. Separate the fibers so they'll dry faster, and then you'll be able to start a fire. But there you go. It'll burn for a little bit, but this is not gonna burn super, super long. But if you have a really good tinder bundle and or a really good bird's nest to wrap around it, this is a great ignition source. All right, guys, so I got the fat wood here, and I'm just doing some very fine shavings off of it. You can also do the powder. I'm using my Gerber Strong Arm, which is a phenomenal knife, but catches up really well, and it's gonna burn for a while. Even just this little bit will burn for a good bit. But I have everything right here together, including my striker. I just used my knife because it was in my hand to start a fire. We sell these guys, and it's a great tool to keep with you everywhere. All right, guys, so fuel taps. And I'm gonna actually show you up close this one. As you can see, it looks like it's more like a Vaseline. And you can feel and smell the alcohol on it. Now, it's burning, it catches up fast. And I'm gonna let this run for just a second so you can see right here it's already starting to melt. See it bubbling? So if you don't have something to catch that, then it's gonna melt away and your fire's not gonna be started yet. Now, these will burn for a long time, and they're great for guaranteed fire whenever you're setting up, especially if it's wet and cold like it is today. But you see how it's bubbling down? That is gonna be a very quick fire if you don't have something for this to set on and it drips out. So make sure you have a good base underneath. If you have paper or if you have some cardboard or have some really, you know, probably about that wide of a stick that you can have a flat spot on, or build a platform for it to sit on, and then you build your fire off of that. All right, guys, so the last fuel tab I'm gonna show, and these are things to carry with you. I'm not really showing natural material this go around on everything that you can use. We will do a video on natural material and looking for it and what to look for in another video. I want to show what to carry with you in the woods when you go, because I like guaranteed fire. Now, as you can tell, I'm knocking off some spots. I'm gonna crush it up a little bit. Get my ferro rod. Now I have more surface area. So, and I didn't put it over here in this spot because that spot is still coated. And these are kind of hard to see. Once you get them lit, you can see that it is working on getting started. But they are harder to light. The solid tabs are a lot harder to light. Yeah, there we go, we're lit. I see the fire. You can barely see it. I'll see if I can do some editing to get this thing going. But as you can see, right here, you can see the jute twine catching up. So hopefully you can see it a little better. But again, make sure you crush the side of it a little bit so you have the ability to get this lit up a lot easier, so you got more surface area. All right, guys, so that's some stuff that I carry with me to build a fire. Now, always carry something with you to start your fire. Even if you're going out in the woods to train, to be able to learn primitive fire, to look for various materials, or if you're doing a survival camp, always carry something with you just in case things go bad, even if you don't use it. But I would rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. And I see so many people who go out and say, hey, I'm gonna do it this way because I seen it on a TV show or I seen another YouTuber do it, and they don't have enough skill to perfect it, and they end up in a bad situation. So always carry a lighter with you. There's nothing wrong with carrying stuff to make sure you're safe and that you will come out of the woods or come out of the situation that you put yourself in not just okay, but maybe even better. I would rather have my tools and not need it than need it and not have it, again, guys. So that is the video. I will see you on the next one, guys. We will be building a fire. I'm gonna show you how to set up a proper fire layer, or at least how I do it. I'm gonna show you the different material I use to set up my bird's nest, and we're gonna build a fire, kick back, and enjoy it. Guys, get outside and have an adventure. God bless.